Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So this is going to be part two of playing with the mini lathe video thingamajiggy card in the corner if you haven't seen that unboxing. So what I've done is I've taken the bit of wood that I had out and that's it there. So what I've done is I've sort of just managed to screw in the mandrel there onto this block of glued paddle pop sticks, craft sticks, whatever you want to call it, and I am going to attempt to turn it down into a encoder knob that's going to fit on my rotary macro pad here. So I've got a couple of tools that I've selected out of my wood carving set here to replicate actual tools that might be used from a turning kit. So I've got some angled and flat chisels, and then I've got some gouge, so they're the rounded ones. And then of course I've got the one that came with the actual lathe itself. So because it's going to make a bit of a mess in theory with wood bits and shavings and whatnot flying off everywhere, I've actually got it set up in my usual sort of mess space, which is my bathroom, and I've set up another camera on a USB extension cable, and it looks like this. So what you are seeing here is basically a top-down view of the lathe. It's not very well focused, it's also not very well lit, but that's the best I'm going to be able to do. And there's also going to be no audio while that's happening. So hopefully I might be able to come in and dub over it or talk over it at the end of it on what my experience was like. So what you can see here on the left hand side of the image is the chuck, which the mandrel is going to go into, and then on the right hand side is the free spinning tailstock, and then we've also got a tool rest that's in the middle that I'll move around. So how successful this is going to be, I honestly can't tell you that. I don't know. I may end up just doing it as a time lapse. I'll just stop the video, start it up again as a time lapse, and then that way, you know, that will speed things up as it were, because I honestly don't know how long it's going to take. Now, of course, because there's going to be stuff flying everywhere, I am going to dig out my safety glasses and put them on. And so make sure that whenever you work with stuff like this, you either have a face shield or safety glasses, because you will potentially have stuff flying at you at high rates of speed. And my glasses do not provide sufficient safety coverage above and below to stop stuff from getting up and in. Right, yeah, so hopefully I'll see you on the other side of this turning attempt with something that might represent a encoder knob. It might not actually work, but you know what? I hope I have fun doing it. So I will see you very shortly. Oh, well, that was that was an experience and a half. So I've stopped it because it was getting dangerous. Now, of course, the thing about what I was doing, which is really my own fault, was I was trying to work with a composite built material. And obviously my gluing and clamping just was not strong enough. Uh, when that sliver, this tiny little sliver came off and it got stuck on the actual cutting tool, I decided to call it quits because I was like, that was dangerous. That could have come off, and while it was small, at the speed it was going, it could have actually probably penetrated, my skin. Probably wouldn't have killed me, to be honest, but, safety is always very important. Now, you can see that I did manage to start getting some of those corners happening, but I don't think my tools are really sharp enough, and because of the way that this material is, it's probably just not the right thing to do. The grain is also constantly changing, and therefore it does make it harder, because if it's catching on the grain, it's trying to rip off entire shards and slivers, which was what was kind of happening there. And of course, on the mandrel side, that was just starting to fail and peel off. So not really fantastic. The other thing that I kind of noticed was that the tailstock end of the actual setup wasn't freely spinning, and it wasn't really holding on, because you can see, even though it kind of wore in a little bit of a dent there, it wasn't really keeping it in position. So I don't think it's really the best setup. Now, I have been online and I have looked at getting some other bits and pieces. So I think when I get those other uh, headstock and tailstock pieces that will actually hold a workpiece properly, I'll come back and revisit it. And obviously I will have to look into getting some proper tools. I did actually try to use a woodworking chisel, and the steel on that was really soft. It was hitting these corner pieces, and it was actually damaging. It was actually denting the chisel, which absolutely flabbergasted me. But I mean, you can see, for example, over here, if the focus will get right, it's really trying to take out massive chunks of this rather than shaving it down. So, as far as power consumption goes, as far as the speed goes, I don't know how fast it spins, but it was pulling about 6 volts and about a quarter of an amp at that. And it was shaving bits and pieces. There were tiny little chunks, little scraps that was just coming off as I was shaving it. But the wood carving tools definitely were doing a lot better than the cheap chisel that I was trying to use on it. So I'm going to end that there now, simply because it hasn't got the result that I was expecting, what I was looking for, but I have learnt some lessons in regards to the functionality of the machine. It does spin, but it does have limitations, and obviously having the right material to work with, as well as the right tools to cut and shape with, are going to be very, very important. So please do look out for the next part of this, because I do want to give it a try again. I do want to try and make something out of this and make it viable. So whenever that happens, I hope you do wait around and enjoy that video when it comes out. So, if you want to give some encouragement to me, I'd really appreciate that like button being hit. And of course, if you want to know when that next part does come out, well, you'll have to subscribe and hit that bell notification so YouTube will let you know when it's available. Right, now I'm just going to go clean up the mess and have a ponder about what to do next. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. And of course, as usual, till next time, happy clacking.